right before our fight, and 3 days before we're doing a face-off, brings it up right in front of everybody, and they're filming us. Why you call me a bully? I'm like, everybody in there thought you were a bully.
What felt better, the first punch or the follow-up punch at UFC 100?
Oh, I don't know. I think they both felt pretty good to me.
You maybe had to tell him he couldn't come back to the gym. I'm talking about Sean Strickland.
Got in a little argument matches all the time with, some of the guys that thought he was going too hard, and then he would go online and talk shit about him. I'm like, it's just disrespectful for your training partners.
You were supposed to fight John Jones at one time, and you guys didn't fight, but you ended up grappling.
And I never ever get submitted in that arm triangle that he got me in at training, and I never get caught in that. Normally I don't have any problem defending that.
Yeah.
But
salute! OverDogs podcast. We're in the building, back after a big UFC 317 weekend. Got an absolute legend, absolute stud on the hook today. You'll see who's coming. And, we're talking about the stud that is Ilia Topuria as well. Not for who's coming on the show, but he's already been on the show. We'd love to have him back on. Ilia's great. He's killing it. We were talking about how he, so similarly to Conor McGregor, it kind of seems like too good, too perfect. Like they had a little hand in it. They were like, you know what we need to do? We need to reinvent the Conor McGregor wheel. We need to do it again, do it bigger, do it better. I mean, Ilia's got the tattoo on his spine. He's getting the knockouts. They both had 13 knockouts, both 27, 28 years old, winning their second belt, or I guess pretty wild, man.
Ilia has a tattoo of his own face on his chest.
Does he?
Yeah, he's that confident, and it makes sense. He can't really rip on that now. He has a tattoo of his own face on his chest.
Look at me wearing the shirt. I'm wearing the shirt of my face.
But like you were saying, it's like they crafted this to be like a new Conor. Keep going at that.
Yeah, I mean that's the way that they're marketing it. They're like, Conor did this, Ilia did this. It's the same. Boom, down the line. Boom, 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 boom. I liked Conor's tweet about it. I thought it was hilarious. He said, congrats on winning my old belts. Told Patty to put his balls on his forehead. Fair play. Hilarious.
I think it's funny the next day you see him hitting pads on the beach, like he's trying to remind himself, like, I did that once. I still got it. Like, bro, I haven't seen him hitting pads like for real in a while, it feels like. He has not. It's been partying and chicks and all this beer.
He's always training, man. I always see him training. He's got his son running sprints. He's running sprints. Let
me put it this way. It's the first time I've seen him at the beach not ripping his Lambo yacht around, and he's actually hitting pads. He's got something on his mind.
His family posts have been great as of late. It's like, he doesn't need to do anything. So, it depends on the UFC, to be honest with you. If they offered Conor would prepare to fight someone. So, and to try to, get a win, So, just keep on keeping on. That's all we can do.
What is it? What makes Ilia so good, dude? We've talked about this before. Pretty much everyone we've had on that trains with Ilia says, like, he's just built different. But again, run us through this, man. There were a lot of people thinking Charles. We've never seen Charles finish like that. In your opinion, what makes Ilia, what we're watching right now?
Well, when there's a lot of tape on someone, when someone's been through a lot, Charles has been through a lot. We've seen him up and down and up and down and up and down in this game. Like, he's been through the ups and downs. Like, even McGregor said, props, sorry it went that way or whatever, because Charles was an incredible fighter. And he was. So, like, he wore his heart on his sleeve. praised God at all times, and I don't know. There's something where you want someone to put their foot down, but they were both so nice to each other. Ilya was prepared to do it. Darren Till was saying how Ilya speaks with such conviction. He's never heard a fighter speak like him, and it wasn't the words I was listening to. It was the calmness of everything, but it's like he had that in his opponent as well. Like they were both so calm and collected, and I felt like Ilya maybe knew when he was gonna turn up the heat, tuck his chin, and throw some. I mean, it was fast. So it was like a feint 1, 2, 3, bang. It was like
hips, everything into it. Like he was leaping for it in a split second, dude. Like he was looking.
But we see Charles get hit all the time. So, now what's the play? Is it the Paddy Pimblett? Because those two fan bases, that's pretty big if you ask me. If that's the play, it's the Paddy Pimblett fight after their little face-off. Armin Sarukian, isn't he a billionaire? He was saying, he'll fight Ilya.
His dad is or something. Yeah.
I'd want to fight the Batman billionaire. Maybe Ilya's got the space for all of them. The Beatle boy in Paddy the Batty, he looks like one of the Beatles. That's a big fight. Huge crowd. But I saw something about Max Holloway had 9 million views in a year, and Ilya's knockout had 11 million views in 24 hours.
And now he's the most followed, Instagram or most followed fighter. It was Islam. Islam versus Topuria is the fight to make. But since we're probably getting Islam JDM,
he's talking about going up again. Even though they asked him not to, he said his fingers were crossed. They asked him not to go up in weight again. Is to keep fighting, keep defending the 55.
I don't know what you do there, bro. It's such a mess. It's like it's Islam versus Topuria.
I feel like the Batty fight, though. That's the fight.
Well, I mean, we'll take that, but we all want Islam. We could pick anything. It's like Aspinall versus Jones. We all want to see Islam versus Topuria, but since that's gone, yeah, I'm okay with Paddy. Did you see that picture of Paddy dogging his son?
No.
Ilya's son? In the crowd, dude. I don't think it's photoshopped. I think it's literally a still from when it showed Ilya. He looks just like Ilya, sitting there all happy, and out of the corner you can just see Paddy looking over his shoulder, staring at little Ilya.
No,
dude.
I didn't see that. I don't think because Paddy's always smiling.
No, bro. Look at this picture. Bro. Hey, Garrett, pull this up. Look up.
He's always cheesing.
Go to Abe Kawa's. I think he retweeted it. Yeah, look up Abe Kawa's Twitter. Pull this picture up, Mike. Look at this. It's whether or not he meant to do this. It is funny. He's literally doing this Batman villain Joker look over at Ilya's son. And this has 40K likes.
No, he is not.
This shit. Yes, he is, dog. Pull this up, Garrett. Look at that, bro. That's the fight, dog. He is beefing with little kids.
Oh my god, bro.
Look at that
look. Bro is hot at the child, man. That's crazy. That's the only time I haven't seen Paddy happy.
I know, he's straight. Dude. Oh, that's creepy. That's some funny. Make that fight.
Oh, that's so funny. That I didn't see that.
I know, because I saw it this morning. I think that dude literally saw it in the video and just caught that and screenshotted it. But dude, what about Joshua Van, bro?
Yes, good point. Couple stats from him. Number 12 ranked, now beats number 1 ranked. The first person from the 2000s, born in the 2000s, to get a title shot. He performed well. His boxing was really good.
Yeah. Well, and then here's another stat that came out today. Most significant strikes landed in a fight ever. It's the first one ever where they both landed 200, I think, and it includes 5-round fights, and that was only a 3-round fight. I mean, they were piecing each other up. I don't know. Do you think he had a chance against Pantoja?
That's a totally different fight than what he had.
Totally.
Brandon Royval is nothing like Pantoja. Pantoja's been one of the most consistent in the game, but that's the thing about MMA. You take youth like Van versus just time after time experience in Pantoja. I mean, he's been very dominant. He reminds me of who's the guy who smoked Cowboy in Orlando for the belt? Rafael Dos Anjos. He reminds me of him. And then it's like we've seen Dos Anjos was so great for so long, and then it's like obviously he's still there, he's still about it and fighting, but then it was like ups and downs, ups and downs. Pantoja's old. Van obviously just showed us like 12-1, but it's a totally different fight. Pantoja's taking him to the ground. Pantoja's taking his back. If Van was solid in defensiveness and everything, his boxing was super slick, super tight guard. He'll stay low, bang, bang. But Pantoja, he's gonna kick the calves. He's gonna do these other techniques in MMA that are there. And Royval was super awkward kickboxing style. Pantoja's nothing like that. He's chin down. He's MMA 1-2 jab overhand into the clinch game. Simple and effective. Stick to your basics. So that's an interesting fight that could happen. So looking forward to it.
I got one more quick kind of question about that. Is it more impressive to you when a fighter goes out? So in that instance, you have number 12 fighting number 1. He's got a lot to prove against the number 1 contender, fighting on 3 weeks' notice. Is it more impressive with him being that young and going through like a dogfight with Royval, which Royval's known for doing as well? Is it more impressive that he kind of beats Royval in a dogfight like that and then emphatically drops him at the end? Like he wins that. Is it more impressive that he goes through the grinder to get that dub, or would it be more impressive if you do something like Ilya and just smoke a legend? Like, or you get what I mean? If he just went out there and chin checked Royval, we didn't really see him go through the grinder. Is it
Royval showed his experience in his durability and he was taking attrition, trying to stick to his techniques, his guns, and whether working the range or if he could get inside and throw some real awkward stuff. He had Van, and Van wasn't backing up because he was forced to. Van was backing up because, and moving to the side, it was the smart play at times to reset for another jab, overhand, or a big 1-2-3 or something. So, it's good to get that time in the ring. But, who's to say it's not just awesome to just go out there and keep knocking everybody out? They got Ilya putting on the finger snap gloves with the Infinity Stones. Like, yeah.
Thanos.
Like, I mean, it all gets told in time. Whether, he goes and fights Pantoja. It's better that he had a tough fight. But maybe that's what maybe I don't know. So maybe if he could have gone out there and just knocked him out, now Pantoja has all the tape to look at and be like, oh yeah. Cause I see his standing fight with Royval, and I'm like, Pantoja's going to open up some things in there. there's some things he can see that he's definitely going to take advantage of, as long as his chin holds
Yeah, I
up
agree.
against that good boxing in the first. And it depends on what he chooses to do. Is he going to box with him? He's going to be smart. He's going to move his feet. Is he going to move around and away? Or is he going to go in, 1-2, head movement, grab for the clinch game, try to take the back and work his jiu-jitsu? I mean, his jiu-jitsu's phenomenal. He submits Kai Kara-France in their rematch. So, you know, it's simple. Another one, the big KO. RoboCop knocks unconscious Mr. Hermanson. He knocked his name right out of my head there. I'm telling you, bro. Bro, you posted that from OverDogs? Dragging
Which
the
one? Him
guy
getting
at the
dragged out?
back? That's rolling.
I was like, bro, I don't like, dude. It's weird. I used to post a lot more stuff like that, but then ever since I've been working with fighters and talking with them with people like you, and I've gotten to know so many fighters, like I don't like ripping on fighters where they think like I'm trying to like make fun of someone's health or you know what I mean. But it's still objectively.
Because as the algorithm moves, it is so much more accessible now. And information and like jokes are just, the internet is just tornadoes of hate. It's just, and it's really constructive criticism. You can't, you sometimes there's jokes thrown around even about me, and I'm like, I'll be mad, but I'm like, damn, that was a good one. I'll be mad as so, that's life. If you're not really in the way of the camera, then the jokes ain't being thrown at you, or somebody always comes and sticks up for somebody. Y'all got to get with the times, man. Lots of jokes. Here we go with the legend, Dan Henderson.
What's up, guys?
Here we go. What's up, brother?
How you guys doing?
Doing very good, sir. How about yourself?
Doing great. Doing great. Feeling good.
You look great, man. Just look the same as when you should have won that title out there in Manchester back at 204.
Yeah, I wasn't beat up then either.
No, you weren't. Poor Mike Bisping's eye, but he got, they called him the champ. His eye was almost gone, or it was gone actually. We've had him before, but I got to meet you at 204. That was my second UFC fight. I got to be on the card with you. I met you, and you were with your wife on the bus. I don't know if you remember. I remember.
Was before or after the fight?
It was before the fight.
Okay.
Yeah, we were being taken on the big city bus to the event, and you've always been one of my top fives. Dan Hendo, I mean, you beat so many. So it was an honor to meet you then, and it's great to have you on the show at OverDogs.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Great to have you. So I want to get into something I talked about. I posted you guys once. I had a fight from yours after you fought Hector Lombard. And I posted about your fight because I thought it was such an incredible fight. You guys were banging it back and forth. And then I posted it because you hit him with that elbow. It was so nasty. And he tried to fight me in the street because I couldn't quite figure out why he was so mad at me. We were at the goat shed in Miami, and he was like, let's talk outside. And I was like, okay. And I put my stuff down on a car trunk. And then he was like, you talk about my fight one time with Dan Henderson. And I was like, oh, that's what this is about? You mad? Because I said that was like the greatest fight I ever saw. He was upset because he didn't win that fight. What do you think about, do you keep a chip on your shoulder with things like that? But you was always a victor anyways. So, how do you feel about fighters being angry at internet comments and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's, but he when he first came back he was in Australia for a while, and then when he came to the U.S., he first started training at my gym for about 3 months, and then he moved on, and everybody in my gym thought he was kind of a bully. Every time I'd go out of town, I'd come back and I'd hear that, oh, he did this, he did that, trying to knock people out when they're warming up, or just kind of being dirty as a training partner, and but he never did that at all when I was in the room, and I never had a problem with him myself, but everybody thought he was a bully in there, and I think that came out right before our fight, because he had mentioned something to the press that he never felt at home at my gym, and I never gave him my phone number, type of thing, and so it was kind of odd, and then right before our fight, and 3 days before, we're doing a face-off media thing, and he brings it up right in front of everybody, and they're filming us doing this, and I couldn't understand a goddamn thing he said at first, why you calling me a bully, and I'm like, what did you say? Why you call me a bully? I'm like, I didn't call you a bully, but everybody in my gym thinks you're a bully. And he kept asking, who, like which one? I'm like, everybody in there thought you were a bully. So after that little incident, I'm like, this guy, I'm gonna come up, and so that's really the only fight that I've had that I kind of really had ill intentions. Even with Bisping, I wasn't planning on. I mean, I was planning on beating him, but not hurting him,
Yeah, you did. You did hurt him once, and then you guys had the rematch.
Right.
That's what it was at UFC 204. So you had knocked him out in one of the most devastating knockouts that any UFC fan has ever seen, ever. The flying Hendo punch to the unconscious body on the ground. And then you guys rematched at 204. So, props to him for surviving with you 5 rounds after you.
A tough dude that and was at it for a long time, and got to the top. But I still think I beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I got a question. I don't know what felt better, the first punch or the follow-up punch at UFC 100.
Oh, I don't know. I think they both felt pretty good to me. The second one probably felt better to him.
Yeah, probably.
Speaking of Hector Lombard being a bully at your gym, or trying to be whenever you weren't there, and I could totally see that, by the way. But there was another fighter that you had, and he recently was in the media this weekend, and you maybe had to tell him he couldn't come back to the gym. I'm talking about Sean Strickland. What happened with him training with you?
He just likes to talk, a lot, which is fine. I didn't have a problem with that. And I loved him as a training partner. I loved his attitude in there. He goes hard, but you got to have guys in the room that make you fight, otherwise, you wouldn't really be training for a fight that, a tough fight anyway. So I always liked having that in there. And he would got in a little, argument matches all the time with, some of the guys that thought he was going too hard. And then he would go online and talk shit about him, and he did it a little bit too much, just more socially. I didn't care what happened in the room, but, when you send it out to, everybody to hear all that, I'm like, it's just disrespectful for your training partners, guys that are in there training with you to help you out as well.
Yeah.
So, he just did it too many times. I warned him a bunch, and then finally just said, "Hey, dude, you got to go." So, but he was a good training partner, and I enjoyed having him in there, and liked having a guy that is in there that goes hard.
I get that. I mean, Sean is very tough, and
I'm a little more old school though.
yeah, I hear that. I mean, I can just hear it in your voice. Have you always been this calm and collect? This is always who you've been?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like that right before a fight. Until I warm up. When I warm up, I'm good to go. And I warm up hard too.
I remember seeing Bisping out at 204 before you guys fought. He was up in they had the green screen room. He was taking pictures with the belt. He was yelling at everyone. He was so pissed off and so amped up just at all times. He just always wild. And I mean, the only wild stuff I see of you is your knockouts in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I am. I get excited, but not overly excited. I don't want to spend all my energy just doing nothing. I'd rather save it for trying to knock the dude out.
It worked for you, man. I've always kind of wished I could do that, but I'm an energetic guy myself. I get a little wild, and it works for my fans. They know who Platinum Perry is. I guess I'm a little loud and obnoxious sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit. So how you been liking the bare knuckle stuff, huh? Or you were anyway.
Yes, 1 second, Mac. Yes, absolutely. I love the bare knuckle stuff. I got this other thing going on. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting back in the bare knuckle ring, punching someone professionally with no gloves. I've gotten 5 in there, and I seem to have gotten better every time I got in there. And then I struggled in the boxing ring with 12 ounce, 10 ounce or 12 ounce gloves on, one of those two. And, I trained with 16s or even bigger all the time, sparring people. And it was just it was just different. The size of my opponent, the weight class was new for me. I can't put weight on too much, I mean, what's the biggest you've ever been, Hendo?
Probably right now. I'm like 215. But when I was training, I was about, I was like, the most I ever weighed in at for any fight was, I had to weigh in over 206 to fight Fedor. I had to weigh in at heavyweight, not light heavy. So I weighed 206 and a half for that. But my last fight at 205 was, I weighed in 199. I weighed about 200, 202 usually.
Do you feel like being a little smaller in that heavyweight fight, how did you prepare your body to deal with the grappling exchanges of the weight of a heavyweight Fedor? And then we know what happens in that fight is you slipped out the back side of the door, and then you were so quick with the the recoil on that punch, and when I went up to fight Jake, I got the call at like 3 weeks and maybe 3.5, and I just ate steak and rice and chicken and rice, and I would work out twice a day, and I was trying to eat and lift weights and then box and gain weight, and so I could push my weight around in the ring, but I felt a little sluggish. I wasn't as sharp and as fast. We talked about if I went to that fight with a different mindset or preparation where I was a little harder, a little more chiseled, and I cut the weight a little sharper and was a little faster, like I was a little bit lighter than the 196 that I weighed in at. I couldn't really put weight on, but I felt like I moved a little slowish. So, comparing how you beat Fedor and it was up in that heavy weight class, how did you prepare for that?
Same as any other fight, other than, And I never really watched my weight. I just had to eat lunch and drink a bottle of water right before weigh-ins. Other than that, I mean, I never worried about how much I weighed, unless I had to cut weight down at 185. Then I worried about my weight there a little bit. But I just think that positioning and being in the right position, and especially when you can clinch and grapple a little bit, being in a better position, it doesn't matter as far as your weight goes. You're going to make that guy, I could wear somebody out in the clinch all day long, and that's kind of where the fight went. When he kind of sat me on my ass a little bit and then jumped on top. But, I mean, he just was so sloppy down there. It was pretty simple to, shuck him by and get out. But yeah, anytime I fought bigger guys, if I'm able to stay in good position, I'm pretty good. And I never felt weak against anybody.
So with you wouldn't call it necessarily a diet because you probably live the lifestyle. So you're always eating a clean meal, a 3-course, or not 3-course, but like, you got like your sweet potato, your broccoli, and your chicken, or what are you eating?
I ate really fairly good most of the time. I ate fairly good, but I did have a meal prep company during my training camps. I'd eat a little cleaner and for sure, but I wouldn't go too far off of that. Outside of training camp, I definitely partied a lot and drank some alcohol here and there. But when it came time to training camp, I wouldn't drink it all 2 months out, and I'd start eating real clean. And I just did that regardless, and that's what I did my whole career, 20 years.
Well, I mean, he's been champ for so long, but different scenario there.
Right.
I still want to talk about what made Dan Hendo. Because like, was it the boxing training or the wrestling? How was your boxing training? And then you could take it, Mac. I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn.
You're good.
No,
he's
right
a legend.
now,
He's
man.
a legend. I'm antsy too. It's all good.
No, it was just being a wrestler my whole life. I knew how to compete. I knew how to prepare and get ready. Being on 2 Olympic teams, I had a lot more competition experience than most MMA guys. Before I even started MMA, I had more experience than most MMA guys do after they retire. So, I mean, I wrestled since I was 5 years old through 2 Olympic teams, and then that mindset of knowing how to prepare and being, confident in your preparation and your skills. That's the biggest thing that people need when they're getting ready for a fight or right before a fight, is making sure that they're confident in what they can do and not worry about what the other guy's going to do to them. That's when you start going down the wrong way with your mind, playing, what if he does this? Don't worry about what he's going to do. Just think about what you're going to do to him and make sure that happens. Obviously, in fights, things don't always go the way you plan on them, and you got to make adjustments and just keep on going.
No doubt. Please, Mac, go ahead.
I was going to tie something. Yeah, I was going to tie something kind of in with what you were talking about with the Fedor thing. I could ask 1,000 questions, but I'll stick to this one. You're kind of talking about how much you weighed and regiment and all that stuff. Let's talk about where you came from, your dad. I saw a picture of your dad a long time ago, and the guy looks like the Hulk. I mean, like, he literally does. If you could pull this up, Garrett, that is his dad, bro. Can you explain, like, that's where you come from? It makes sense when you see that. Yeah.
That looks like a picture of me and my dad.
He used to do bodybuilding way back in the day and go work out in those meathead gyms down in, kind of the LA area. And he competed for a long time bodybuilding, but he kind of got out of it because he couldn't compete anymore being natural. I think he was Mr. California natural at one time, but he worked out every morning in our garage when I was growing up.
You still have the ranch, right?
I'm sorry.
You still like work on ranches and everything, right?
I mean, I do a lot of stuff myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I, that's how I grew up. Just you know, being able to do stuff.
Hell yeah. I got some horses here, but just 3/4 horses. Nothing crazy like I'm sure you got.
Well, no, I don't have any horses anymore. I got rid of all of them. You know, my kids aren't riding them anymore, and they just sit there and don't. You know, it's not the horses need to be ridden.
All right, let me just to stay on the Fedor thing for a sec, kind of. Where would you rank that as far as like? Because I feel like people don't forget that happened, but your H bomb, became your logo. It's so iconic. You've had so many iconic moments. The Lombard KO. Where do you hold knocking out Fedor though? Because that is incredible. I mean, I don't know. Where do you hold that as far as your accomplishments?
That fight and Vanderlei fight are my top two. You know, it's like knowing that my sense of accomplishment went after a fight. You know, those were probably the top two for sure. I mean, doing that to Fedor, I don't think anybody expected that. You know, I know that leading up to that fight, my whole camp and even my wife, they were all nervous fight week, and I'm just my same self, and they were all quiet. They were just all real nervous because they didn't know how it was going to go with Fedor, and I like I said, self confidence is huge, and knowing what I can do, I thought I stacked up very well with his style. He likes to get in, throw a bunch of bombs, but get in the clinch a lot as well, and I knew that I would be able to be right with him and do better with that. And so I will say right before that fight started, when I'm in the cage and they're announcing it, and I'm kind of looking up at the screens. I think they were talking about him, and the tail of the tape popped up. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he had that long of a reach, like a lot longer than me. I'm like, oh, I said, well, that's all right. I'll still beat him.
You sure did. Could you tell us? Because you were supposed to fight John Jones at one time, and you guys didn't fight, but you ended up grappling. Could you tell us, was there anything that you felt when going up against Sean in the grappling that just seemed different than anyone else? But it wasn't a fight, so you didn't have that
Right.
big right hook or anything. But what was different about it?
Well, I mean, one, I should have maybe gotten a little bit of shape for that one, but I just thought it was going to be a fun thing to do. But, and I never ever get submitted in that arm triangle that he got me. And, I usually can get out of those no problem. But
Well, you never got submitted ever in your career.
No, I have. Yeah, I think Big Nog and his brother both armbarred me. Yeah, I mean, I've been submitted, but it's rare. But in practice, I mean, even at training, and I never get caught in that. And I think he kind of started working into that, and and then I started doing what I would normally do, but his arms were so goddamn long that he just had it locked in before an elbow deep, and I just normally I don't have any problem defending that.
Yeah,
but that day, I mean, him just being longer, and going for those things was different. But I mean, that's kind of what's helped him out as well.
Yeah, I mean, most long guys like that don't have the leverage and power that John has, and I mean, he's probably the best tall wrestler we ever saw. So,
right.
He knew how to lock it up for sure. But you mentioned my bare knuckle. I definitely have a lot of fun doing that, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon. Putting on a big, great, exciting show. Hoping to have an announcement this month, or July. Actually, it's not quite July yet, but also I wanted to talk to you about dirty boxing. We have this thing called Dirty Boxing Championships. I don't know if you saw any of it, but
I haven't seen it. I've heard about it.
Oh, you have heard about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's small gloves, upper body striking, so spinning back fists, elbows, boxing, Superman punches, all legal. And if you knock your opponent down, you can ground and pound for the finish, or if they survive, it'll go back to the feet and the boxing continues.
So you take them down with your punches or strikes?
Your strikes have to put them on the ground. There's really no
kicks?
No kicks, no real judo or anything like that, but you can fight in the clinch. So if you're like hitting him and like pulling on him and he goes down, like as the strike's happening, you can follow up some ground and pound looking for the finish. So
no, that's pretty cool.
we have a little clip for you. Check this out. This was DBX2. We had Rusin strike as our main event. We got some ghetto music on the, to keep it entertaining for the fans. He won that fight, that guy with that eye. That was a tough one. Ooh. I love that. This is the new. All right, that's our new highlight from DBX2. There was a lot of really entertaining fights. I think we had 7 out of 9 fights end in stoppage, something like that.
Yeah, it seems like the rules are geared towards finishes for sure.
Action, yes, sir.
And the little gloves, help with that as well, with and forcing them to just box or stand up and strike.
I mean, absolutely. The one where the guy was dripping some blood from his forehead, Francisco Trinaldo, very experienced mixed martial artist, fought a boxer, and EC Moon was a full-fledged boxer, and he kind of took a chance diving into this world of mixed martial arts striking, which is so quite different. And, Trinaldo in like the first 30 or 40 seconds, he kind of, EC likes to guard a lot, and he just shot some elbows and split them. Just shot some right down the middle, and EC just wasn't ready for that type of dirty boxing.
Right. No, I think it looks fun. It would have been fun. That and bare knuckle, you can kind of dirty box in that too, right? Just no elbows and stuff.
Right, no elbows. So we're the only sport of our kind at dirty boxing that has it like that. But then you got bare knuckle. There's a couple bare knuckle organizations, but BKFC is kind of standing above the rest.
Right.
And I am looking forward to hitting somebody with no gloves again soon, legally, professionally.
Right.
Not outside in the bar and stuff.
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to do that.
We're having another one. You could at least come and watch. We'd love to have you out. It'll be in Miami. I believe it is a Friday this time, Mac. I believe it is August 8th. So we had 2 on Saturday. Now this one's going to be on a Friday night fights, boxing, dirty boxing. So out in Miami. Miami's always a good time.
No, for sure. I have amateur fights I put on at my gym here, and August 9th is my next date, so I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. Yeah. So
okay, cool. Well, do you do like a stream for that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and you can look all that up. HendoFightNight.com, and
okay,
it's all on there.
Yeah, everybody go check out HendoFightNight.com. Watch on August 9th, the day after our next Dirty Boxing event. Hendo's going to have some amateur Mixed martial arts. Out of where are you out of?
I'm in
Again?
Temecula, California. Yeah,
Cali,
yeah.
West
So,
Coast.
yeah, just about an hour northeast inland from San Diego.
Anyways, we just had some big fights. UFC 317 over the weekend. What do you think about Ilia Toporia's performance over Charles Oliveira? And were there any other fighters that stood out to you on the card?
Yeah, I mean, I think Topuria was very impressive in that fight. I wasn't sure. I mean, because Oliveira's hard to beat and
Right.
hard to do that too for sure. And he just got dominated. And I think Topuria just came in and with what he normally does and goes out and finishes it. So uh, I forget the names of the two guys that fought. One of them was that younger kid,
Joshua Van, Van and Royval.
Yeah, that fight was phenomenal. That was pretty good.
For number 12 to take number 1, that was pretty good.
Right.
One of my favorite things about having like legends such as yourself, Indo, on here is, I mean, first of all, I'm starstruck. I try to not act like it. But I mean, I've been watching you forever. I mean, you're one of the people that got me into the sport. So one of my favorite things to ask you guys, you helped build this sport. And in my opinion, when you had the John Jones, the Dan Hendos, when you knocked out Bisping, like around that area, you had, all these characters. You Rashad Evans, you had Rampage, you had Vonderlei. Like you said, you had Fedor lurking another. I think that was the prime peak UFC. I think you could argue nowadays it's much bigger, ESPN deal and all this stuff, but it's been corporatized and all these things. I'm curious, like, what do you think about the evolution of MMA that you helped build? Where do you think it's at now compared to when you were at your height? And what's your like favorite thing from back then that they used to do that they don't do now? And what's something you prefer they do now that's better than they used to do? And be as rough as you want. Like
No, yeah, I mean, that was a lot of questions, but
I know I'm terrible about it, but I just want you to go on a little rant for me. I know
Yeah,
Mike's gonna rip on me. I'm terrible.
it was pretty cool to be a part of the evolution of the sport. I got my first. I fought I think a year before UFC 17. And I think Randy and we were training partners in wrestling. Both started fighting at the same exact time, like a week away from each other. I was in Brazil. He fought I think in UFC 13 maybe, and watching the sport grow from there and trying to grow with it and learn. There was no coaches there was no MMA coaches back then either. It was all you got a boxing guy, a kickboxing guy, you got a jiu-jitsu guy, you got a wrestling coach. There was nobody that really put it together until we started getting more experience with actual fighting and knowing what we should and shouldn't do, and so it was pretty cool to be a part of that. And I don't know, the thing I probably hear most from a lot of fans that I run into that I don't watch it very much anymore. I miss the way it used to be, like when you fought. I would hear that constantly, and I don't know why, because obviously it has been pumped up and it's on TV a lot more. There's fights every weekend or 2 a week, on TV. But I just think that they don't have anybody to really get behind like they used to when there was a fight, just one every 2 months. That people kind of got behind their guy and looked forward to that. And now nobody can keep up with twice a week fights, and so it's kind of watered down a little bit, I think. And but the fighters are still good. I'm not saying that, but it's just there's just too much to really get behind a guy, and it's rare that you get a big name of it, anymore that comes out of that. So and I don't know what I would do differently. I would like to see tournaments a little bit more multiple fights in a day. My first 9 fights were all multiple fights in a day, 2 fights or 3 fights in a day, and I think that's something I would love to see now every once in a while.
Me too.
It just kind of separates the men from the boys a little bit.
I never got to do something like that. I never got an opportunity or an offer to make something like that happen. Thinking back, I'm like, nowadays I feel like that would be so hard because I go through these battles, and after one fight, like I'm walking real slow for a couple of days, But like in my pro debut in those days, in those type of fights, like I'm smoking guy after guy, one round, one round, one round. I think it would have been different to be able to start doing it that way. Or, we train at the gym, we spar 5 or 6 people, in a day. Or you do 2 rounds with one guy, and then third round you get a fresh guy. It's like a little bit of practice. But to compete, like you fought 3 times in Pride in one night?
No, it was in an organization called Rings. It was in Japan, but it was Rings.
Okay.
It was a 32-man unlimited weight class tournament.
And it was, it was the names that we know, like
Yeah.
Rampage and Vandalay, and I'm sure there's some other ones, Sakuraba or something.
No, Guerra. I think Sakuraba might have been in it. A couple of the other bigger name Japanese guys. Overeem was in it. Randy fought in it the year after I did. I fought Big Nog in that, and Babalu.
Who was someone that you aspired to be like, or to utilize their skills, or to learn from? Who was a mentor or a coach, or even just a figure that, was there a guy back in the day that you didn't personally know, but you saw a video of him and was like, oh, I'm going to learn how to do that?
I'm sure there was a lot of things I saw, because that's, with the lack of coaching back then, with people knowing everything,
right,
and being well-rounded as a coach, you kind of had to look at videos and see certain, but I don't know, nothing stands out. I know that Randy Couture and I were training, like I said, training partners for 5 years before we started fighting, and then we kind of were doing wrestling and fighting for a couple years, and then we quit wrestling and just started fighting full time, and we were training partners for years in that, and we wouldn't train together year round, but quite often during the year, and we'd go and learn different stuff, and then come together and kind of teach each other stuff, and he was a big inspiration as well to me. I think some of the other guys that go out and do certain things were pretty good as well. I loved watching a lot of those guys that go out and fight. I remember watching Boss Rutan, but when he was fighting in the UFC, and a lot of these guys that do different things, and we were just wrestlers trying to learn how to strike a little better, and then learn how to not get submitted, and then learn how to do submissions. It was just the kind of evolution of MMA, and us trying to stay on top of it.
Definitely.
I don't know if that answered all of your questions.
No, you actually did. I'm sorry. My questions
really did. Yeah. Incredible.
Oh, I got another one for you though. So you helped build MMA. So you've seen the OGs, Boss Rutan, Babalu, like you're saying, everybody, Big Nog. Now you have an amateur fight card coming up where you're still seeing the new guys up and coming. You're obviously still paying attention to the fights. Out of everyone you've ever worked with, been around, fought with, who is like the number one talent? Whether they're done and retired, or they're someone fighting August 9th for you. Like, who's the best talent you've ever worked with, in your opinion?
Yeah, I would say one of the most athletic, strong, talented, technical striking and wrestling and judo, that I worked with was Terry Sokaju. I don't know if you guys remember Sokaju. He kind of could have been great, just, had to work on his mental attitude a little bit better, and he would get tired a little bit in a fight and kind of, pause for 15 seconds and not do much, and then he'd, get beat up a little bit, and if the fight went longer than 4 minutes, he struggled a little bit. So, but the most talent and most athletic guy that I've worked with for sure.
That is not. I mean, I'm not surprised, but like, man, the throwbacks on that is so cool.
Do you think it's better? Do you think it's better to have that ability to just finish fights in the first round and knock people out, or finish them, submit them, or then, when the day comes that you run into someone able to take it into the second and third round, you after winning fight after fight, and you find yourself like, oh, what do I do now? Or do you think it's better to be durable, have these bangers back to back, and like you just get in these firefights, you get hit, you hit people, and then it's kind of the same thing when that day comes and you're going into the third round and both guys are just butting heads, and you've been there before or you've never been there, and then it depends. I guess that's a tough question what I'm asking. It's like, yeah, what's it better? You want to knock everybody out in the first 2 minutes and then one day you find out what a real fight is, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that obviously you can't count on knocking guys out every time. It depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to have some pretty good highlights and kick some asses here and there, or is your goal to be the champ and number one guy in the world, you're going to have to do both. Try to knock guys out in the first round, second round, and third round, or all the way up to 5 rounds. But you got to be able to compete through the whole fight, mentally and physically. You have to if you want to be the champ. If you want some highlights, definitely, have a highlight reel of the first round knockouts, and then get beat part of the time when you're not able to finish them.
I don't want to ask any silly questions. So what is something that you would ask when you were coming up and learning to, how to fight? Or you wouldn't ask questions. You just jumped in, boots on, and went for it every time.
No, I mean, in training, I'd ask a lot of questions. If somebody does something, I'm like, hey, how'd you do that? Or, show me that. For sure. I'm not afraid to, I wasn't afraid to learn from anybody. And that's how I coach as well. I mean, I don't think anybody is wrong as long as it works. If it doesn't work on anybody, you might want to rethink doing that, But for the most part, there's a lot of different styles out there. And, but I would ask in practice how guys would, but in a fight, like I said, I already knew how to compete, just doing that my whole life. So I didn't have a whole lot of questions as far as the actual competition would go. Yeah, and I was obviously I'd have my team and my coaches, and we'd study video and watch it all and come up with a game plan every fight that I'd have, and those type of things. You're asking the people around you what they thought, and and they obviously knew my style and what my strengths were, so we'd come up with a game plan that way. But for the actual competition, I really didn't need to ask questions, or I was pretty dialed in with that.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Mac, take one while I pull out these conspiracy theories.
Okay, I got like, I want to try this. I think it made me think of the Mark Kerr movie. So they're making the Smashing Machine about Mark Kerr. Right. Let's say, Dan, that they make the Dan Henderson movie. Who do you pick, and you get to pick and sign off on it? Who do you pick to play Dan Henderson?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know. As an actor,
yeah, it could be. Honestly,
I couldn't tell you.
And I was gonna say, then you gotta say who would play Mike in the Mike Perry movie. But yeah, it could be anybody. It could be anybody, dead or alive.
Play Dan, no disrespect, bro.
Go ahead.
I would try to remain calm and talk real gentle, and then when I started to fight, I would just open up a can of whoop ass, man. Talking with you made me think because I'm good friends with Yoel Romero, and
Okay.
and I always think about you two. I always think about you guys because I'm like, I want to compete till I'm 47 because I saw you guys compete at the highest level until you were 47 years old, and I mean, even still, Yoel's. What's that?
How old is he right now?
He's 48, I think.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. But he's done now?
No, no, he's not done. He's won. He fought these two poor guys in dirty boxing. Somebody asked Joe Rogan what they get to face Yoel Romero in this, and he was like, $15 and a pack of cigarettes or something. Yoel is still just a monster, and my point was, it would have been, people are always talking about like Ali, Mike Tyson. I think you and Yoel are that version in MMA.
Dude. Yeah.
If we could have saw you guys compete against each other in mixed martial arts. Have you ever met Yoel? Do you know him?
I don't know him. I think I might have met him once, but I'm not positive. Yeah, but watching him, he's always obviously fun to watch. He's explosive. I think he figured out, how to not, kind of waste his gas tank at the beginning of the fights, like he did a couple times, and figure out how to pace himself a little better. And he started doing a lot better as well. So, and he's had some very impressive knockouts.
Yeah, super explosive guy. I mean, he's a jumping bean. Like, he jumps and knees people in the face. It's crazy. And he doesn't even use his wrestling, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
No. I have a quick question for you, Dan. It's mostly for me. I don't even know. I've always, I can see the replay of you knocking out Hector Lombard in my head. It's one of my favorite KOs ever. I just remember
He's
the
going to
KO
attack
sequence.
you next time he sees you, Matt.
Probably. It would be a pleasure, Dan. It would be a pleasure. If I remember right, it's like the right hand missed, and he went for a single leg. And it's almost like you kind of like stood there like, what the where am I going to? And then you just saw that the elbow was there. And it wasn't like a spinning, like planned elbow. You kind of just saw it, and you went, boom, just knocked him out.
No, it was actually I didn't throw a punch. I feinted a right hand, but when it came up with a head kick, first head kick I've ever landed in a fight, and he had lifted his arm up and caught my leg on his shoulder, and I'm keeping my balance, and I look kind of out of the corner of my eye, I see his head right there, and then I said, get up.
Okay, so it is because I remember watching you kind of like oh.
But it's nothing I've ever practiced before, and like I said, I've never landed a head kick in a fight. I hardly ever throw head kicks in fights. I did. I think when I fought, one of my fights, I threw 2 or 3 head kicks and fell on my ass every time because I slipped. I couldn't get my leg up there. I'm not that flexible, so. Hector Lombard is super short, and I like to do this thing against lefties, feinting a shot or feinting a right hand, change my levels a little bit. My head kick comes up, and usually their hands drop a little bit, thinking I'm going to shoot. So that one worked really good against opposite stance guys, and surprisingly it landed.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I want to know. Like, you didn't plan that. You literally saw that in the moment. We're like, oh, boom, and it deaded him. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, what was that?
Do you ever still get the itch? Do you ever still want to fight, or are you just training is enough?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I don't spar or anything anymore, but when I see certain styles of guys out there, I'm like, would have been fun to kind of see how I do against that kind of a guy, That's about the only thing that I every once in a while think about, but I do not miss the preparation for any of it. And yeah, I mean, I have been keeping in shape this last year and a half or so. I started doing my cross training circuit that I used to do, and a couple days a week, and it seems to be keeping me pretty good.
What about mental health? Because you seem sharp as a tack, and considering the wars you've been in, and some guys from your era, some guys from the new era are already
Right.
loopy. I know that UFC is helping. I believe it's Mark Kern with some stuff he's dealing with and things like that. So Shane Carwin, sorry, they're helping Shane Carwin with some things that he's dealing with. As a legendary day one OG fighter that you are, did you ever take steps for mental health and keeping your wit about you?
I think the biggest thing and Randy Couture probably say the same thing, and we just didn't beat ourselves up too much in practice. Obviously, we'd spar hard, but, maybe one day a week as far as taking strikes to the head, was more than enough. And going a little bit lighter with the strikes the rest of the week, but still getting good training in. I think that's the biggest. A lot of these guys spar a little bit too much, a couple, 2-3 days a week, which is, some people think they need it, but, there's so much to learn in MMA, and we were good wrestlers already and still needed to do other things and learn, and you could be a little bit more technical with your striking and not throw all your power into it, and train pretty smart in that way. So, I think that's the biggest thing nowadays. And obviously the style, that you go out and you fight, if your style is to stand there and bang with the guy and never clinch, never grapple at all, never take him down, you're going to probably get hit in the head a lot more than you would if you take the guy down. So, my style, I would clinch a lot. I wouldn't just stand out in the open. Most of the time I'd prefer to stand up, but, I'd take guys down. I'd clinch with them and try to wear them out a little bit, and try to knock them out from those areas as well.
Well, we've taken about an hour of your time. I got one more, and I would just say, okay, if you could just hit a button and redo your career against the current middleweight division, or would you stick with the people? I guess I don't necessarily know the point of what I'm saying, but like the middleweight division is kind of wacky right now with, DDP's a very interesting fighter. It's all over the place. How do you think you would do essentially against current middleweight division, picture? I think it was better back then. Would you rather hit the button and redo it now against this current pool?
Well, I'd get paid a lot more if I did it now.
True. Okay, well, let's say money's off. Money is no. Yeah, you get paid the same.
Well, I don't know. I think the way the sport was then, when they did build stars a little better, and a lot of people, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot more eyes on it now, so some of these guys do get a lot more people to watch them, but to really get behind them and be a fan of one guy doesn't happen as often now like it used to. So, having those bigger matchups back then might have been pretty cool, but I think some of the guys would have been fun for me to fight, currently.
You had absolutely huge matchups. You fought all the OGs that we know of, that why these fighters fight, like DDP, a name that sticks out, DDP and Ilia Topuria right now. Obviously Islam Makhachev because of Khabib. Conor McGregor really stuck out. But like those, like you saying, it's watered down a lot. But then when a guy does stick out, they really standing out. What do you think about DDP? I think he's, I can't even read him. I'm like, why is he so strong? Why is he so powerful?
Yeah, I think he's well-rounded, and he does everything. He does mixed martial arts. He's not like Sean Strickland, he'll go out and stand up the whole fight with somebody, even though he's a really good grappler,
Right.
and if he took somebody down, he'd probably beat the out of him and submit him. But he just has to stand up and try to knock him out or beat him up that way instead. Yeah, I think some of these guys could be a little bit smarter with their approach to certain opponents, and not let their ego say, hey, I want to go knock him out. I want to, that'd be great to do, but get on top of him, wear him out for a round, then you could probably knock him out a little easier.
Right. We kind of said that at the beginning.
Yeah.
About Pantoja and Van, because Joshua Van's probably going to get that title shot now, but Van didn't seem like he wanted it to go to the ground with Royval. So, we know Pantoja's so experienced in mixed martial arts. He's going to throw a calf kick. He's going to stay out of range, and he's going to move in and take his back, try to drag him to the floor.
Right.
Do you think that the experience of Pantoja will be too much for Van's youth, or Van's youth will be too much for Pantoja's older age?
Well, my answer on that one, experience is always a better thing to have than youth. And like I said, you stay in better positions. You don't wear yourself out as much doing things that are hard to do and waste a lot of energy. As I got older, I just got more efficient with what I did do, and tried to stay in better position and not use much energy and wear the guy out at the same time, and look for shots to finish him.
Did you run a lot of miles on the road?
No, I couldn't really run.
You were just like an in the gym wrestler, boxer type of guy. You just fought at the gym.
Yeah, my back would hurt when I'd run. So I would get on the Versa Climber. That thing will kick your ass. I had a love-hate relationship with that. I hated getting on it, but I loved what it did for me.
Okay.
That and an Aerodyne, I would kind of rotate back and forth between those two things and do my cardio as well as my cross training stuff that I did, and a couple of days a week getting pushed on that, and then the regular practice at times too. I'd get a lot of cardio in there, but and when it was closer, when I was 46 years old, I was like, for a training camp, I would, after practice, go home and just lay on the couch and, just be too tired to do anything else. And then I'd get up and do it again and then lay on the couch. I just started not hanging out with my kids and doing, family stuff as much during training camp. And that's when I thought, it's probably time to retire. And I was going to possibly retire, when I fought Lombard. I had all my kids there, and I was going to maybe retire. Then they offered me the Bisping fight for the title. I said, all right, that'd be a nice way to go out.
It wasn't a real loss, in my opinion. Thought you had a great fight over there in England. I was happy to be on the card with you. I had a banger that night against Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. My first time going to the third round. So that was a fun one. But Dan, you've been so respectful with your time, man. It's been an absolute honor speaking with you and getting to learn from you. I look forward to putting on an event in a couple months this year. So I hope you watch and enjoy the show. Thanks so much for your time today, Dan.
No, I will for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on.
You're the man, Hendo. American legend, dude. God bless.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Why wouldn't Josh want to talk to Hendo, dude?
I think his internet was just down. I think he does. He might not know much about Hendo, to be honest.
How?
I know. Dude. And then, like, my problem, bro, like, it's so funny to me when I say those long form. He's obviously, like, older gentleman. He's like,
he answered every question.
He got everyone. He's like, that's a lot of questions. I'm like, oh, I did it again.
Dude, he's sharp as a tack, bro.
He is. He's very calm.
He likes my bare knuckle fights. So cool talking with Dan Hendo like that. I mean, he's such a chill dude. Like, how do you just chill like that all the time? Like, how can you stay like this all the time? I don't know how people do it, but they're just chilling like this all the time. And I'm like, dude, like, turn up, bro. You're like the fact that he is like that. And then the guy you see in the ring, y'all go look at because I don't know how new our fan base is. I know the MMA community has gotten a new set of fans, but like maybe we got some of the OG fans, so they know about Hendo. But like that was the guy. That was the guy. It was Anderson Silva, Dan Hendo,
Wanderlei, Fedor.
Fedor, Rampage, John Jones, Alistair was still a baby. Alistair Overeem was still a baby.
You ever seen the footage of Chuck Liddell fighting Overeem?
Chuck.
Yep.
Chuck still in the crowd.
God, bro. Like, bro, that's
Chuck be in the crowd every UFC.
Yeah, dude, he dead ass, dude. Like, bro, that was the prime. It was the prime of the UFC.
But it's I don't know, man. You said it like, you know, you said you think that the old school was definitely a different vibe to it.
Yeah, there's pros and
like
cons.
DDP is a problem.
Oh yeah, and Ilya, dude, did you? So I saw
Ilya is a problem.
These guys are gonna blow up on ways we never saw.
But like, in my opinion, Khabib was an old school guy.
Yes. 100%.
Very old school style training with his dad and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I had met him out in Vegas, actually. I went up to him. I saw his manager, Ali, out. We left dinner. I walked out. I saw Ali. What's up? He goes, did you see Khabib? I said, what? He's like, no, he's in there having dinner. I was like, I'm going. I turned around and went back. And sure enough, there he was in the center table. We was in the back room in like a private room and walked right past him. And then he was right there at the table. And I walked over and, you know, tried not to interrupt, but it was cool just to say hi, say what's up to Khabib, bro. I was like, what's up, man? And then when I was leaving, they were like, who's that? And he was like, UFC fighter. I think he knew who I was, but like, you know, I'm the guy that went up to Khabib and didn't go, can I have a picture?
Yeah, dude.
I was like, hey, I just wanted to meet you, bro, man. It's a real pleasure, man. So
like the first 5 times I met you, I didn't ask for a picture, bro. I don't think I asked for a picture to like DBX because I feel such like a clown. Like, I get why people do it, but dude, it's so embarrassing because I'm not a fighter. You know, it's embarrassing for me to ask for people for like pictures. It's different. You're in that with him. You're in the same league. You know, like with me, like even asking you at DBX1 because I think that's the first time like I actually took a selfie with you. I was like, Mike better not think I'm a bitch. Like, I just want a picture with my boy.
Oh, we boys, though. We boys,
I
though.
know.
It's different. We're always together, but we never see each other. So, it's different. But, like, I don't know. Khabib, I think he had just got his eyebrows done, man. I wasn't really sure. You would think his eyebrows look like mine because I need a haircut right now. And it's thick. But, boy, his was sharp.
I know. Give me half yours. Mail me they cut off.
Your shit's still growing back. I can't see it right now. It's blurry. I forgot you had bald face.
I know, dude. It's weird. Like all my hair went from up here. I know. It's weird. I'm jealous of your eyebrows though, for real. I'm just like my dog right there. She's got no eyebrows
bro,
either.
That's a little extra.
No, it's not. I've told you this before. I
Have you
got no
watched
eyebrows,
Love
bro.
Island?
You got enough for 2. We started it, and I hate you, dude. This one's toxic. This is a toxic season.
Dude, this season?
I got this, and I thought you'd laugh. Look, it's called Mi Amor. I call it Casa Amor. Wine coolers.
Sorry. No, that's fine. This season they get real nasty, dude. Like last night's episode, I was like, everybody was just making out with everybody, and I'm like, ew, man. Like, why would you want to start a relationship on this? And my favorite couple is Nick and Sierra, and then like Nick's getting heated, and then they were doing like heart rate. They were checking people's heart rates, and they were saying who got whose heart rate up the most, and like, but they did it this time differently because they didn't do singles in the checking everybody's heart rate. They did the couples came out, and they all like the boys went at the girls and the girls went at the boys. Just a bunch of nastiness, in my opinion. It made me so mad. Like, I'm still mad. Me and my wife were mad at each other from watching these people cheat on each other. Amber Alert.
No, dust storm. Dude, it has not stopped here. It's so fucked. But dude, like what you shut up.
Dust storm. You got the Amber Alert call ringtone for your dust storms in New Mexico.
Amber Alert's about to be for me when that gust blows me away, dog. But like straight up, bro, that's the weird about that show. It literally, I don't get how you sit there and watch it, like, because your girlfriend be looking at you like you do the same nasty shit.
I was mad as fuck last night. I wasn't even enjoying the show. It was so disgusting. It was the first time I didn't enjoy the show. I swear they brought a phrase back because I tweeted it, though.
What?
I was like, can they bring back the jump my bones? And last night, they said it like 3 or 4 times. They were like, jump my bones. The whole season, 20 episodes, they didn't say it. And I tweeted, can we bring the phrase back? I want to jump their bones. I thought that was cool. And they fucking started saying it. I was like, oh, they're watching.
I'm going to, now every time they tweet, I'm going to comment and say, you guys stole my boy Mike's.
No, chill. I asked them to bring it back. They gave me what I asked for. And as soon as they brought it back, I felt weird. I was like, oh, are they really watching? Are they paying attention?
They're trying to make that show we talked about in the last podcast. Remember I said you put fighters in a house?
New show idea.
Okay.
Love Island.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah. With married couples.
That's what I'm saying. But make them fighter couples, dude. I want to see that. I'll watch that. I'll pay pay-per-view for that. Like, dude, that's the up part of that show.
Breaking up marriages. Oh, you're gonna break up marriages. Whose marriage? Call it whose marriage will survive.
Yeah, survival or
the whole
Survivor.
Island. Whose marriage survives whole island? Have Drake's song on there. Nokia talking about, am I the only hoe in here? I can't be the only one. What he say? We all. Oh, that's crazy. Shout out to all the fans watching OverDogs podcast, keeping up with us. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, tell us what's going on. Tell us how you feel. Tell us what you hate. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't. Tell us what you want. And
tell us who you think Ilia Topuria is fighting next. That too. And drop a follow while you're at it.
Yeah, who we gonna talk to next? Stay tuned and find out on the next OverDogs podcast. We're out.